With the uprisings that are happening around the country, organizations, groups, activists are putting very clear demands on politicians. As we know too well, most of the big cities in which we are having these issues with police departments and police unions are led by Democrats. Many of them almost solely Democrats. In New York in particular, we have a Democratic mayor who just went through budget cuts and was basically there protecting police unions, and activists are outraged. They have put forward several different types of demands. Our next guest is Awkward, a lifelong social justice activist. He's a 20-year abolitionist, and he is the co-founder of 10 Demands and co-creator of 10 Demands for Justice, The Road to Abolition. Thank you so much for joining us and for putting this forward. Tell us a little bit about the 10 Demands.
So as it relates to the efforts to defund NYPD, this actually takes it a step further in a number of ways. The biggest thing is that this is national. We have specific demands that are, comprehensively outlined, that are requests in a lot of ways for long-term solutions, but also immediate demands that we expect to happen right away. And mostly at the federal, the state, and municipal levels. So in that way, it differs in that it's not just targeting a specific city, but also beyond that, we're not speaking of simply defunding, cutting it by $1 million. We want to start with defunding. That's kind of the bottom line. And then it goes a step further. That's why it's called the Road to Abolition, because in addition to ending discriminatory policing and mass incarceration, at the end goal is to actually create a new system and a new society based on mutual aid and community, where we don't need police, we don't have police, and we don't need prisons or have prisons.
You have a great coalition as I look at the website here, several friends of the movement. You have, quote from Angela Davis of all people. How did you build this coalition? Can you talk a little bit about who is part of the coalition?
Sure. Well, just to clarify, I have not had contact with Angela herself. She's someone that I have for a long time looked up to. Her book, Are Prisons Obsolete, is kind of what started this all for a lot of abolitionists. And her work that preceded that as well. So we are kind of working off of what she has spoken about for years, as well as a number of other Black leaders and Black women in particular who are greatly impacted by policing and by mass incarceration, and who have led this abolitionist movement for decades. The coalition itself kind of started organically at the end of May. As you said, I've been doing this for many years. I was part of a program where I spent a lot of time at Greenhaven Maximum Security Prison, meeting with incarcerated people and exchanging ideas. I successfully lobbied for the repeal of the Rockefeller drug laws in New York, where you and I both live. But the group itself is really a collection of leftist activists. And someone approached me with the concept, and that individual ended up kind of backing away because she wanted to limit it to defunding at most. And I was a strong proponent of taking it, that, like I said, the step further to full abolition. And so it ended up being 12 of us who for weeks worked on iteration after iteration, consulting with leaders from the Black community, the indigenous community, other abolitionists that I know, to develop these 10 demands. And we continue to work together today, both to promote it. We're currently working on printing a massive amount of flyers, which we're then going to distribute across the nation, targeting some specific key cities first, to get them in the hands of protesters, to kind of give them something to talk about and to, some strategy to put behind their anger and their need for justice.
No, I mean it's actually brilliant. I mean, so much of what came out of the movement was initially was confusion over like what should we put forward? How do we? I think for a lot of folks, there's a sensitivity to criticizing Democrats and putting pressure on Democrats. Thank you for watching and listening to the Nomiki Show. Make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube and share with everybody on social media. And of course, if you're not a patron already, please join us on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for as low as $5 a month. That money makes a huge difference. We don't have the corporate money coming in. We're not cable news that's raking in the dough from advertisers right now as everybody's sitting at home and watching. It is really you guys who are keeping us together. So please consider being a patron. And for those of you who have already, we are incredibly grateful to you.